PDF, but I'll email the PowerPoint just in case you guys have it on your computer. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't think we have anything in old business. Next is committee appointments. The only one we have on the agenda today is the Parks Board. And Ms. Anderson is here. Do you want to come on up?
Good evening. I'm Nancy Anderson. I live at 4228 West 8th Street in Anderson.
So Nancy is currently on the Parks Board, and she was our appointment 2 years ago, January. We're a little behind the ball game here, but we're working on that. Is there did anybody else on the council have anybody else that reached out to them at all? No. I had one gentleman reach out to me. I emailed him back, and he's not responded. So I'm assuming that our only person that's before us is Nancy. So do you guys have any questions for Nancy at all?
Hi.
Hi.
What have you personally done since you've been on the Parks Board that would justify a reappointment?
So we worked on the first, I would say, 6 months of the board. We worked on a DNR master plan, and that was critical in really establishing our role as a county parks within the state so that they would recognize us as a viable entity for future grant funding. So we finished that master plan, and it's been published and available for everyone to see on our website. We did that, and then we worked on mission, vision, statements for our website. We also worked on marketing, logos, taglines, some collateral items. Most recently, I just attended Earth Day Arbor Fest to represent the Parks Board, so we passed out information about the new anchor parks, and yeah, just went through the entire bid process for our 2 anchor park projects. So, we were awarded $4 million to establish our first 2 county parks. So, in establishing those, we had to go through a pretty extensive bid process to find the right companies to really execute this work, which we just started this past week and a half ago. So we're excited about that. So yeah, just kind of staying busy. I think next, really just kind of really doing, we did a few public open meetings, to hear public comment when initially there was some rumors spread that we were going to be doing a huge trail on the west side, which never was the intent. But we, had a few public meetings. We meet monthly. Not so sure that will continue just based on the project's going to be wrapping up here at the end of the summer. So we might go to every other month meetings. I'm just speculating right now. Trying to think what else. We need to work on bylaws. I mean, there's lots of future work, to be doing. When we had a park director, that person really kind of kept the needle moving. So, the last 2 months kind of slowed us down on some of the projects we had when it came to marketing and all of that. But we contracted with a marketing professional to kind of help us with that through the end of this year. So I work with her quite a bit. But yeah, just staying really busy with the 2 new projects. So yeah.
I've received some complaints about transparency with the Park Board, specifically in regards to agendas not being posted ahead of time, and also in relation to financial reports. Since you're our appointment from the county council, and the county council is the fiscal body of the county, I would expect you on the board to be watching the financials of the Park Board and making sure that those financials are in the county's best interest. And I'm not sure that that's been happening with the Parks Board.
I think there's some confusion on when you talk about financials, because I think what we're hearing from, from a few individuals is that we're not being transparent about the costs of the project when we signed a contract for $4 million for a BOT process. So I think there's some educating of the public on what the BOT process is. This is something that's it's not unique to our work, but because of the timing of the funds, it was the way we just devised the project to take place. When you're not in a BOT process, you can actually go step by step and approve every line item. That is not what we had time to do. So I think it comes across like we're not transparent, but again, I don't know what else to say about the BOT process. I think it's just, it's really, I think what our goal is to put something out on the website on how the BOT process works so that people understand, like, this is how it works. We contracted with a company for a certain dollar amount to give us an end product, and I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry, Bethany, but I mean, we know exactly what we have to work with. We just paid our first invoice last month. So, I mean, we don't have a huge budget to work with. We started out with 500,000. We probably have about 450,000. We just approved 2 invoices for the project at 14,000 and some change and 40,000 and some change last month or 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of money going in and money going out. And the public was at that meeting to hear, what those invoices were. So I don't know how I can be any more transparent with the finances.
I think I'm frustrated because as an elected official, I'm getting complaints.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're
And the
getting
council,
complaints.
We approved the ARPA project initially. And at that time, I felt like we were going to have more say in how it was going to happen, because we just kind of, like, when we approved the money, it was to work on the master plan and see what needed to be happening. And now there's the actual project and we've not had any more say over it. So we delegated that job to the Parks Board, but then you guys went and contracted and made the BOT. And now I'm just not sure who's overseeing the financials.
Bob, could you
So
speak?
that company's called Avenue,
Right.
and they attend our park board meetings, and they are pretty transparent about where they're at in the project. And, I believe it's a private entity. So I think our attorney was going to look at how much they have to disclose. What I understand and what I was told about the BOT process and what I've learned along the way is that we are paying for a product. We are paying, as a park board, $4 million for 2 parks. So I think where some individuals were getting upset was that, they wanted us to start counting asphalt units, and they thought we paid too much for land, which, and personally, I don't feel like we did, but I didn't pay for it. Avenue paid for it.
No, the taxpayers pay for it.
Right. But what I'm saying is we also went through a bid process to get 2 parks for $4 million, and that's what we're going to get. And that's what our taxpayers are going to get.
What did you want?
I just wondered if Mr. Clutter had anything to add about the control over yes. Anything else you wanted to add?
The BOT process.
Can you use the microphone? I'm sorry.
The BOT process stands for Build, Operate, Transfer. And it's been around for a long time. It's become much more popular with local governments in the past 5 to 10 years. And the reason for that is it's different from the traditional design and build, where you'll hire an architect to pay them, and you hire the contractor to go through the bid process and all that. And that's probably what you're speaking to in terms of transparency, because everybody sees that, or they can see it, for the bid openings and that type of thing. The BOT process is different. It's absolutely legal. It's established under Indiana Code 5-23. The reason that so many local governments like it now is because you have a guaranteed maximum price. Unlike the traditional design bid build, you get change order to death. And that's very common. So you have your lowest bidder come in and say they bid $3.5 million. Oh, that's great. They're lower than everybody else. And next thing you know, you've got $800,000 in change orders, which you have very little control over. The Build, Operate, Transfer there is a guaranteed maximum price, and they statutorily cannot exceed that without the owner's approval. So you know what you're getting, and you know how much you're going to pay for it. Now, that also has to go through a process. So what the Parks Board did, I believe, is they put out an RFP for any company that's interested in doing this, participating in the project, and will operate transfer. They interview those, whoever the applicants are, they respond to the RFP. They interview them, they'll ask questions, and they'll choose one of those. And then they go through what's known as a scoping process. And they'll say, here's what we want, how much will it cost? And they go through, it's actually usually a 3 to 6 month process. It can be shorter than that. I understand the time constraints the Parks Board was under, but they go through the scoping process, and if they are happy with the results, that's where the guaranteed maximum price comes in. So Avenue said, we'll do this, purchase this land, whatever the improvements are, we'll do it for $4 million. They then hold a public hearing, and they decide to award it to them. They don't have to, up until that public hearing and those contracts are signed, they can terminate the process anytime they want. If Avenue or somebody else had come in and said, we can't do it for less than $5 million, say, no, we're done. We can't do it for that. You've only got a fixed number. But then again, once that public hearing is held and the Parks Board awards the contract to the successful recipient, then they sign the contract, and then that company starts moving forward. They get periodic reports. Parks Board has the right to conduct inspections, to look over the books at any time. And those things are typically always in the contract.
Thank you.
Would there be any situation where the financials of the BOT project would not be public record?
Well, any internal documents for the contractor, how much they're paying their employees or something like that, certainly would be the amounts expended by, in this case, Avenue, their contractors. Those expenditures would be public record.
Okay, because I know we have an elected official in the county who's asked for those records, and it's been over 60 days and they've not received them. And then at the last Parks Board meeting, there was discussion about if it was appropriate to release those financials to the public, which I was confused about.
I don't know what the records request is for, what specifically you mean by financials. Certainly, Avenue or any other contractors, private company, they don't have to release proprietary information. But as to the actual expenditure of county funds, that's the
Okay. Is there any other comments or questions from you?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you for coming tonight and
Sure.
being here so we could ask some questions. Is there any one specific park board member that meets regularly with the contractor to make sure things are going smoothly?
Yes, our park board president, Ben Orcott, meets a couple times a week, to my understanding.
Okay.
If he's not either out at the site with them meeting, he's either on the phone or and talking. They have pretty regular meetings, yeah.
And then they come to give a report at the park board meeting of how things are going.
Yeah, usually Avenues at the meetings and really reporting out what's going on. And then, I mean, if anything was to not correspond with what Ben is witnessing, then I'm sure Ben would speak up and interject, but everything seems to be, yeah.
Do they ever provide at the monthly meetings, provide like a report, a printed report that could be distributed or posted on your website?
No, but they have been taking aerial drone footage and we're posting that now on our website. So we're posting actual project updates on the website now. So anybody can see what's going on. It's kind of cool, actually. Yeah.
And then I was curious on the actual resolution when the park board was established, it talks about additional considerations. It says the board may create an advisory council and or special committees composed of citizens interested in the problem of parks and recreation in accordance with Indiana Code 3610-3. Have you ever considered establishing something like this, like just so that people that have a special interest in the project that's going on now? I didn't know if you knew that was in the actual.
I mean, yeah, of course, yeah, but right now we're so hyper focused on the two projects, and that's where we've been. And now without a park director, yeah, it's the last 2 months have been a little challenging, but I will say that, yeah, that's obviously something we would love to do.
Yeah, I think that would be great
Yeah.
for the specific different project that will be worked.
Especially when we get into seeking, like additional funding opportunities, like whether those be grant funded or foundation funded projects, that would definitely be something we would be interested in, probably forming a committee to help with those fundraising efforts.
I just wanted to say, echo what Christy said. Thank you for coming, for answering questions.
Sure.
For your willingness to serve and for serving.
Thank you. You too.
For one, I hold great value in our parks. I love going to parks. I've heard just a lot of positive things. So obviously there are some folks who may think differently, but yeah, thanks for being willing to serve and do this and even face challenges from the public, because it's the nature of public service, right?
Sure.
But anyway, thanks for.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Appreciate that.
Can you tell me what your interest is in being on the board?
Yeah, I mean, so I work in the nonprofit field. Currently, for the past 13 years, I've been running a healthcare foundation. But prior to that, I just have a genuine interest in the environment. But my first kind of dipping my toes in the nonprofit, I started writing grants and was provided an opportunity to help DNR start an Indiana Urban Forest Council, which is started out as kind of like a watchdog group, environmental group for urban trees. I know everyone's going to get excited about this, right? But there was some pass-through money from the Farm Bill, and so it required some governance and watching over of those funds. And so they carved out some money to kind of start a membership organization of, basically urban tree lovers. And at that time in the late 90s, a lot of cities and towns were doing lots of you've heard of the word urban forestry, lots of urban forestry projects, street tree plantings. And I was just volunteering for the Anderson Tree Commission for about 7 years. And this position came open to be the first executive director. So I kind of jumped at it and worked with our National Tree Trust, the National Arbor Day Foundation, put on educational statewide events, really just learned a lot about trees and bugs and anything else that affects our urban forest here, and just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. And I did that for a number of years and wrote grants and stuff to really kind of support that work. Then, the climate kind of changed a little bit. Less and less funding came through for street tree projects. City of Anderson eliminated the urban forest position. It was during a time I was sitting on the Anderson Parks Board at the time. I was serving as president of the Parks Board. So, those were the real lean years, if you remember, 2008, 2009, when we were watching, our tax dollars and whatnot. And then we had to really make some serious cuts to parks, which was not fun. Then you saw a dip in decline in what our parks looked like. And then, we're back up on the high end of things now, where we've got some money to spend and people put a lot of interest in quality of life and quality of place type projects. And here I am again, I'll always advocate for green space and a healthy environment for people to enjoy. And so I'll always put myself out there for that.
Okay, anybody else?
So Jody, this is a 4-year appointment this time, is that
Yes.
correct? So initially it was 2 years.
I didn't know that. Okay, it's 4 years.
And now
Okay.
it's 4, and that's to
Okay.
help stagger, so not everyone's up at the same
Yes.
time.
Correct.
And then once we appoint for 4 years, no offense, but if Nancy would do something that the whole council disagreed with, can we remove and replace, or is it 4 years no matter what?
The legislature just recently That's the
They do.
limits to that, and not reviewed thoroughly as they would by the park board, but as long as all of the appointing members stay the same, and it is not overruled for cause, by that, or some illegal act or something, then she would serve that 4-year appointment. But then, all 7 of you are still there. As it is this year won't be the case.
Sorry, I can give you a better answer.
It's okay.
But I do remember seeing something about, at our last thing, we were at,
It's a
Todd,
very
you remember? Yeah.
unusual statute.
And evolving, they seem to be changing,
Yeah.
for less control on the,
Okay, is there any other discussion? Any other questions for Nancy?
Did anybody watch the last Parks Board meeting before we vote? I'm just curious who watched it.
I did.
Okay. So I need a motion to, nominate Ms. Anderson from the board.
I make a motion.
Okay, there's a motion from Dr. Green. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion?
I would just like, since the concerns have been brought up, that, and since we are the fiscal body and you're our appointment, that we would try to, whatever we can. I know it's hard to fight against some of the misconceptions out there, but just to be as completely open and transparent as possible with whatever we can be.
Sure, I agree.
And I would also ask, that respect be shown for all elected officials during meetings.
Me too.
I think you've done a good
I
job
agree.
tonight, but
Yeah.
I was not impressed with the Parks Board meetings last week.
and I was not necessarily impressed with some of the public, so I encourage all boards to adopt a decorum
Yeah.
resolution, so that personal attacks are not allowed.
And I know it's hard.
It sure
I
is.
just, I know, like, as elected or someone appointed, that we should hold ourselves to a higher standard.
I agree.
Okay, so I've got a first and I've got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you.
Thank
Nancy.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So her appointment's going to go through January 30/30, right? When you update the spreadsheet.
Yes, and I think that was the last one. we had.
2030, that's like
Last one,
30.
maybe.
2030. Yeah.
Well, but Todd has told me that he would monitor that, spreadsheet and I think we said